In a move that we all expected, the Boston Celtics have traded Chris Boucher to the Utah Jazz. You're watching Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and we're here to break down this brand new Celtics trade here just a few hours before the 2026 NBA trade deadline. And guess what? There could be more maneuvering on the horizon. We'll break that down in a moment. But here is the trade. We don't really know what's going back yet to Boston, with it kind of being ambiguous at the moment. And we'll update you in this show if we hear anything. I can't imagine too much is coming back. I don't think it's going to be a player. I don't think it's going to be just a second-round pick. It could be a second-round pick swap of sorts, or it could just be cash considerations, and the Boston Celtics just doing a pure salary dump here of Chris Boucher. That's what it is, whether or not you get a second-round pick. But the Celtics making themselves a little bit more financially flexible here, getting closer to that luxury tax line. And it makes sense, right? Because Chris Boucher has played a total of 4 minutes since Thanksgiving. Yeah, he's not really found his footing for the Boston Celtics this season. He's played in 8 games only, and he missed the road trip that Boston just went on. So we all knew that the days for Chris Boucher as a Boston Celtic were numbered. Now, we also heard about multiple teams around the league having interest in Boucher, but the Celtics deciding to go with a familiar face in Danny Ainge, Austin Ainge, and the Utah Jazz. They've done this very recently in the past as well. Remember when the George Niang salary dump came about late in the offseason? Who did they deal with? Danny Ainge, Austin Ainge, and the Utah Jazz. They're friends. They like to do business together. Both of them understand each other. And they made another deal here, sending Boucher over to the Mountain Time Zone. And what this trade does for Boston is, one, it opens up another roster spot because, again, I don't believe that a player is coming back in this deal. We would have heard about it already. And the Celtics also now free up an extra $3 million in salary cap space. What happens is they sit at $3.6 million above the luxury tax line after moving Chris Boucher. And Brian Robbins says it's also worth noting that the Vucevic deal isn't official yet, so some additional maneuvering is possible there in the next few hours. Stay tuned. They have 2 roster spots on a 15-man roster as currently composed. Now, I also just saw a report that Anfernee Simons has shown up to Bulls shoot-around on Thursday here. So it looks like that deal is going to get confirmed in some way, shape, or form in the next few hours. I mean, it's going to have to be, right? The deadline's in literally, 3 hours from right now? So, yeah, it's going to have to be something that gets finalized here soon. But there is still the opportunity for this to expand a little bit and the Celtics to, maybe move even closer below the luxury tax. Just $3.6 million away. It's super feasible at this point, but the Celtics are also running out of guys that can just salary dump into another trade. So it'll be interesting to see, but this is a very minor trade that could end up netting a major result down the line. Boucher, I thought he was going to be a solid piece coming into the season. I mean, I know he's 33 years old, but last season was one of the best of his career. He averaged 10 points a game, shot well from three-point range. He moves well, but doesn't necessarily rebound super well, doesn't necessarily defend the rim super well, and he doesn't really want to play like a true center role, so it didn't really end up fitting in Boston. Guys like Josh Minott, Luka Garza, even Amari Williams we've seen get some run over Chris Boucher as of late, so this is the end of the road for Boucher in Boston. I know he had high hopes for what he could do in Beantown as well, but it's all over now. The Celtics and Jazz, though, they're really, really good trade partners. I'm going to look at a little bit more here from my guy Brian Robb real quick, just in case he has anything. It frees up $2.3 million from the salary cap, $3.6 million away from the tax line, but it would be a little bit tough considering Boston doesn't have any guys who are solely $3.6 million to the salary cap that could just be flipped and get yourself underneath. So they would have to still probably trade, 2 more players, 2 more of their vet min guys in order to get that spot. And then at that point, you're at 11 guys. And then if you sign players in the buyout market, which you would have to do in order to fill roster requirements in the NBA, then, yeah, you'd be back over the tax. So it looks like this is where they're kind of going to end the road here. There may be some minor maneuvering with the Nikola Vucevic trade and what have you, but they are trading Chris Boucher to the Utah Jazz for, I would assume, cash considerations at this point, since we haven't really heard on what they got back in this deal. If it's a second-round pick swap, that's cool too, but We'll see what it ends up being. We'll keep you guys tapped in when we go live here very, very soon on the channel in just about a half hour from right now. We will be live for the NBA trade deadline at 1 p.m. ET. Subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss a moment the rest of the day here, because one thing we know about Brad Stevens, he's a psycho, and he could absolutely make another move that could shock all of us. We'll talk more about what that could be and some buyout target stuff in just a moment. First, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor on the program today, and that's Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close out the season right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after your first $5 lineup. It's the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. All you guys got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. It's super aesthetically pleasing, super easy to create a lineup, takes 60 seconds, and they offer the best features. PrizePicks wants to make it easier for you guys to win real money in real time, so they slash stat projections for big events by 99%. They'll give you a max discount, and they're doing one for the big game. Drake May, he's only got to throw more than half a passing yard. Yeah, count me in on that. That PrizePicks square will be green, and you'll be on your way to winning up to 2,000 times your money with one single lineup. Take it from me. I've been a customer longer than even been a sponsor here at Chat Sports. I genuinely play this game. I've won over $14,000 playing PrizePicks. You can too. Download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, so to recap the Celtics trades real quick that have gone down so far, Chris Boucher heading to the Utah Jazz for details to be announced. We still don't know who's coming back. Probably going to be cash considerations or a second-round pick swap. Nothing too impactful there. But they do get closer to that luxury tax line, and you honestly probably get yourself – I don't know the exact impact of the luxury tax repeater penalties that they get down from this, but it's going to be something substantial considering they're only $17 million away in penalties, and then they get $2.3 million off their books. That will multiply a bit, and you'll end up probably saving upwards of $7 to $10 million, I would assume. I don't know. I'm not a capologist, but I have a feeling that's what they save based on this deal for our guy, Bill Chisholm. Also, the Celtics ended up trading Anfernee Simons and a second-round pick. And I'll tell you guys what. This second-round pick that the Celtics ended up sending is pretty valuable. It's going to end up being the Pelicans' second-round pick. It's the most favorable of New Orleans, the Knicks, the Portland Trailblazers, and maybe the Timberwolves. But regardless, three of those 4 teams are much closer to the postseason than the New Orleans Pelicans are. That's going to be the Pelicans' second-round pick, which is going to be pick 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. You're going to get a good player at that spot. Very interesting that Boston gave that pick up. But we also know that the Bulls wanted a first-round pick to take on Simons and give them Vooch. They found a compromise, something that's almost a first-round pick, but is not. Now, the Celtics, like I said, have 2 open roster spots at this point. It would be silly if they didn't fill them, especially when you consider that Jason Tatum isn't playing at this point. He hopefully comes back here in the next month or so, but the C's are going to have to hit the buyout market. And a new name just hit the streets. Haywood Highsmith, released by the Brooklyn Nets. Now, he has not played in the 25-26 season. He's been dealing with a torn meniscus that he suffered in August. But that's what? August to September, September to October, October to November, November to December, December to January, and January to February. 6 months for a torn meniscus. You should be pretty decent by then, or at least on the track to getting back out there on the court. There's no timetable as it stands right now, but I would be all in on bringing Haywood Highsmith to the Boston Celtics. Excellent defender. He can hit the 3 ball from the corner, from the wing. He's a good catch-and-shoot player. Just a very solid 3-and-D piece, point of attack defender here, and a mover of the basketball as well. I'd be in on bringing Haywood Highsmith to Boston. There's a couple other names as well who the Celtics could end up pursuing on the buyout market, because what we know they need is a backup ball handler and a backup scorer. Now, is Chris Paul going to be a backup scorer that you need? Probably not, but he can control the floor still. I think he still has enough basketball skill and acumen in his game to be able to just be a floor general and bring the ball up and move things. He's probably going to get hunted on defense at this point in his career, but you're not asking Chris Paul to play 20 minutes a game at this point at age 40. Also, Lonzo Ball, he's another name that's out there. He got traded to the Jazz, but he's expected to be released as well. A much better defender at this point than CP3. He's 6'5". The three-point shot is brutal. His shooting splits are horrific, but he can move the basketball. Excellent vision and some decent enough athleticism considering all the injuries that he's had. Mike Conley as well. I mean, we've heard reports about him, and he got traded to Charlotte after getting traded to the Bulls. But we've heard reports about him potentially reuniting with Minnesota. So I don't know how likely this is. Minnesota, on the other hand, they haven't really been able to get this guy on the floor this season. He's been so horrific. And then Lonzo, funny enough, I bet you he goes back to the Charlotte Hornets to team up with his brother LaMelo. So a couple of names out there for Boston in the backcourt that they could end up targeting here in the buyout market as we get closer to the NBA trade deadline. More names will come out in that buyout market, so stay tuned for another video tomorrow talking about who the Celtics could sign here with 2 roster spots available. That will do it for today's show. Give me a follow over on Twitter at Tyler J. Smith, 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you sub to the channel as well. We're going to be live here like a half hour. Join us for Celtics trade deadline coverage live. We'll see you guys then. And as always, let's go C's.